Hello and welcome to the Open Air Podcast. My name is Devang Desai and I'm joined as always by Mr. Simon Bushell. Bush, barely got your name out because it's a huge sports Sunday as you record. How are you doing? This is recorded before Spain, England. How are you going to take in this match, sir?
Oh, Mavang. Sorry, Devang. You're spoiling me.
Jeez.
Terrible.
I deserve that.
No, you didn't. It's fine. Yeah, I'm doing good. It's what a day of sport. Really, genuinely, a fun day. Finals day in the Copa America, in the Euros, and of course in Wimbledon. Really fun day to be a sports fan.
I'm going to watch most of this stuff at home, which is a new thing that I think I'm going to do in perpetuity from now on. Bush, big sporting events in big crowds. I think I'm done unless I'm at the game itself. Do you have a take on this?
Well, I received a message from a friend yesterday saying that he was going to watch the game at a England pub and asked me very excitedly if I wanted to join. And my response was absolutely not. 0% chance that I was going to go to an event like that. So I'll be watching at home. I will enjoy regardless what happens.
It's sane and smart. Sane and smart. The open era motto. Okay, let's talk Wimbledon, sir. And let's start with the men. I know on the West Coast, Bush, this started very early, but I'm curious, by the time you woke up, was it over?
It was donezo's. Yep. I even woke up a little early.
Wow.
I was under the guise of I have the ability to watch this back, and I usually try and watch the matches as much unspoiled as possible. Unfortunately, I received a message from my brother of all people saying, "Wow, that was easy." Oh, okay, well, I guess that's spoiled. So I went back and I watched the highlights. There's actually a pretty good live recording as well, which I managed to catch most of. So I missed it live, but I'm still up to date on it, which is it's crazy to think about, right? That we were anticipating this running long, and it really did not at all.
Yeah, we made sure that our recording time was 5 hours out from the start of this final, because after last year, you never know, and we've been burned many times by this before. So we thought we were smart about it, but perhaps we should have seen this coming. Bush, Novak hasn't won a title this year, which is a bit nuts. He had knee surgery a few weeks ago, a couple of lucky breaks. I guess his side of the draw wasn't the toughest, and he also benefited from Alex de Minaur having to withdraw due to injury. But this really wasn't close, and we've talked a lot about changing of the guard this and changing of the guard that, but this was pretty definitive, it felt like, in terms of the scoreline and how this sort of played out.
It really was. There's no denying who the worthy winner of this tournament was on the men's side. This final was a demolition. I think one of the things that has become an interesting sort of subplot in the whole year, of course, yes, is when is Novak Djokovic going to win his first title? Also, it's what is the record looking like when Novak Djokovic plays against either Jannik Sinner or Carlos Alcaraz? And I think that's come much more in the spotlight following this particular final. Alcaraz he's a nightmare matchup. I mean, he's a nightmare matchup for anyone, just given how good the kid is, but he is kind of kryptonite to what Novak Djokovic does really well. And I think he has to play really, really well at this point to beat Alcaraz. Just testament to how good he is, honestly.
8 tournaments played, 0 titles, 0 wins versus the top 10 for Novak Djokovic, which again, Father Time is undefeated, but that's pretty nutso, Bush. Like that took me aback when I saw that. Let's stick on Carlos though for a second here, or for more than a second. You mentioned he's a nightmare matchup for Novak, but I felt like today was one of those days as well. Like he was amazing from the beginning, which he really wasn't this entire tournament, which maybe was something about conserving himself or peaking at the right time. But I compared how he looked today to how he looked against Tiafoe, and it was almost like it was a different player. But when he plays like this and it starts off so quickly, I think it usually accompanies like a mixture of all of his best elements. Like he kind of gives you everything, whether it's coming to the net or an amazing aggressive returning or an ability to lay a drop shot from a moment of nothing. I thought like the opening of this match was a perfect kind of, oh my God, this guy is 21. He's won his first 4 Grand Slam finals, something only Roger did. Like it's not normal. And it's something, and it made me think of something that you said on the Discord about like how we recognize this as being otherworldly, or like, are we giving this its proper due as not being something people do in the sport? Because it feels like we've been we've seen too many crazy things maybe to accept that there's more craziness ahead. And it seems like there is, though, with this 21-year-old.
Agreed entirely. And I think also one of those elements that you sort of missed in that long list of superlatives about what he's capable of doing is what I think sometimes gets missed from it, which is that he is willing to suffer in rallies. Everyone loves the like running, passing shots and the big, massive forehands and the drop shots and all that kind of stuff and the flamboyant side of things. But he is just incredible in his ability to hang in rallies and play, you know, the cross court, the bread and butter stuff in terms of his consistency, his length of shot, his ability to have patience and not go for huge winners. You need to do that, especially against a player like Novak Djokovic, because you are going to be tested to every fiber of your being in that aspect of the game. And you don't get to do those other things, the big, exciting stuff, without being able to do that, the fundamentals really well. And I think it is no surprise that the number one player in the world in Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz find success in that area, because outside of Novak Djokovic and Danny Medvedev, they are head and shoulders above the field in that ability. They're just so good and so consistent on those just neutral rally balls that they are either willing to stay in a rally or are able to manipulate it and try and do something else. And that's the reason they win.
How big is the gap between Alcaraz and Sinner? Because I think this is also one of the underrated storylines to emerge from this tournament, is like the full court press was on for Jannik. He had the Gucci ads everywhere in London. He was world number one. They made the videos for him, et cetera, et cetera. But I felt like they did this already for Carlos, so maybe they felt there wasn't the need. But it did feel like they were priming us for two or the second guy. But at the moment, Carlos is putting some distance in between himself and Jannik, and I think that rally tolerance is one area where I notice a difference. But I'm curious if you see other areas where there is that separation that's building.
I think his speed is. Jannik Sinner's movement is incredible as well. Let's not lose sight on that fact. But let's say it this way: Carlos Alcaraz has the ability to suck your soul out, like to absolutely break your heart in some of the ways that he's able to win points. And the slumping shoulders of Novak Djokovic at the net after he has played an almost perfect point and he would have won against every other player in the world, and then the ball comes flying past his ears at an impossible angle in a passing shot. There's not really something that you can find in statistics which say that. And I think that's the real thing that stands out for Charlie over pretty much anyone else in the field. It's, yes, that ability to absolutely shatter your belief. I have done everything and I've still lost a point. That gets to you. It eats away at you.
Yeah, Novak was coming to the net with the, I don't know what his level of belief was in terms of like, I'm going to win this point, or I'm just going to come to the net because I want to die. My knee hurts so bad. But it did feel like he was coming to the net as some sort of punishment at points. It was standard. I mean, broke him in the opening game of the match, so that kind of set the tone. But we really only got drama towards the end in the third set. Carlos broke Novak to serve for the match. He was up 40-love at 40-30. The match on his racket, some fan cried out either pro or con. I don't know if they were supporting Carlos or anti-Carlos, but he missed the shot, and I had immediate meltdown vibes coming. And this perhaps is what separates Carlos from everything else, because as a wounded PTSD-infused sports fan, I had Fed flashbacks. I had flashbacks to every time a team I liked was winning and they didn't win. And that could have been the moment, right? Because it was a weird, random thing. I mean, that person yelling isn't the only reason he wasn't able to win that game. He had a few different looks. He looked very flat, like not even nervous, but flat. I think Josh mentioned that on the Discord, but I thought it was really true. It was a really weird moment, but to recover from that, again, we cannot normalize this. It's not a normal thing. He's got an incredible head too.
He does have an incredible head. I think, tell me a moment in this kid's career where the moment has got too big for him. Or I guess more pertinently, when the moment has got too big for him, how has he found, what is the response to that? Has the match that's followed it, has the next time he's been put in that situation also presented the answer? Because we've called him the Terminator many times, that he goes away, absorbs his lessons, and then moves forward. I think it's just, again, testament to how good of a head and a very, very young shoulders that he is. Because this could have been a moment, right? This could have been a moment where all the narratives are set up. Is last year a fluke? All the things that could have been said. And he came out and he not only answered the question, he, I think, posed more questions on the opposite side about how washed Novak Djokovic is, which I think is perhaps it speaks to how good of a performance this was.
Well, that's a good place to go and maybe close our combo on this final. Novak wasn't good. He looked out of sorts. I don't know if Alex de Minaur would have beaten him, but I would have been fascinated to see that match, because I think that would have been maybe the test he needed, or would have truly exposed where he was at health-wise or play-wise, but he didn't get to play that match, and in the end, he was probably better off in terms of wear and tear. But this wasn't close, and it's really rare when you see Novak not close at all in a slam final, even though he's lost a few of them now. But this does feel a little more definitive, like I said off the top. And this decision, which I think is built off of a couple things. I think in his mind, to catch Roger for Wimbledon titles, that window is closing. So this was one of the last few chances at that. But also, like, does this kind of jeopardize what he was planning for the Olympics? Like, I think the decision to come back and play Wimbledon, I applaud it, and clearly it was worth it to make the final. But I wonder now if he recalculates after seeing how far away he is from someone like Alcaraz. Then again, there's probably only two guys that would have beaten him at this tournament. So then who are we to say anything, right?
I think that's probably part of the calculation, isn't it? I think he goes into the draw and thinks to himself, okay, I'm probably looking good unless I play these three dudes. And even then, it's probably like, probably fancy my chances against some of them just on aura alone. I mean, how many players in the world can still beat him? That's the other thing on grass as well, isn't it? Is that you have to take the surface into consideration as well. I think I would give it a go in those scenarios. If I felt like I went into a field and only felt like three dudes could beat me, hell yeah, I'm going to play it. Why the hell not?
100%. Okay, we'll save more men's draw reaction for parting shots. To the women's side, Jasmine Paolini versus Barbara Krejcikova. Even the biggest tennis superfan probably wouldn't have picked that final, but on merit, fully deserved for both players to enter the final. And we got a really exciting match. I thought this was the best match of the weekend. It was one of the more memorable matches in general for, I think, the swings, and then kind of the end, which I thought was a bit heartbreaking because I was pulling for Paolini pretty hard. But Barbara Krejcikova kind of disappeared for a bit in the singles sense, but I think her reemergence reminded us that she is a person that has this such a unique skill set, possibly one of one in the tennis world, to amass the title she has across all these different competitions, whether it be singles, doubles, or mixed doubles. But this was cool to see her return to the top in singles. And I also, once again, gutted for Paolini, but this looks like she can repeat this based on the last few weeks.
So much to dig into here, isn't there? First of all, if this final was made for the Simpsons meme of you can pinpoint the moment that her heart broke, it was that double fault in the third set. It was utterly and completely brutal. No one likes to see that. Just an incredible week, incredible month, you have to say, for Jasmine Paolini, more than answering the question of whether or not she is justified being a top 5 player in terms of how she's held herself, given an account of herself across 2 services. It looks entirely repeatable for the rest of the year. You don't see anything there which suggests that this is luck or fortuitous. She's so fast around the court. Her movement's incredible. I was wondering about this, whether or not the best description of her, or the best metaphor perhaps, is that she's like a hornet or a wasp or something, where it's just constantly buzzing around the court and it can sting you when it wants to. That's kind of like how I feel about watching her play. So I think in that regard, what an incredible month. And you mentioned it was a great final. It was. I thought her semi-final against Donna Vekic was obviously nail-biting in so many ways. And she was down and out many times and managed to overcome that one. So great stuff for the Italian. On the Krejcikova side of things, 12-time slam, Dev. 12-time slam champion. Yeah. Including doubles as well. Did you see the graphic that ESPN put, or was it Tennis Channel put up about one slam wonders? It's like, I don't know, this seems a bit harsh to put like Coco Gauff on a one slam wonder list. I mean, it is true, I guess, but at the same time,
it's insane.
Give her a little bit of time.
Insane. Yeah. They probably, did they put Sinner on there? Because technically, I mean, yeah.
I think it was just on the WTA side. I don't think you can put Coco Gauff and Yelena Ostapenko on the same list as a one slam wonder. It seems a little harsh. With all due respect to the greatest player of all time.
I mean, it felt good. I mean, the Yana Novotná connection as well was nice. I don't know if cringe is the right word, but I felt it was a bit forced at times. Bush, I don't know how you felt about this. I think we talked about it on the Discord. Not forced in the sense of like fondness and remembering, but like the commentators and the people on the court trying to like instigate a sort of reaction. That always feels a bit too much and not good to me. But I also just overall love that story and love that connection. So I thought that was really cool. And also Barb wins, Siniakova wins women's doubles with Taylor Townsend after she won with Coco Gauff a year ago. Like these two players, Siniakova and Krejcikova, like this, their impact on the game will not be measured accurately by us or anyone else because it's massive. Like I think this duo, they've done amazing things, and it's cool that they dominated the discussion once again in 2024 at Wimbledon.
Agreed entirely. I think on the Novotná point on how forced it was as well, I think maybe it's due to the fact that the storyline for Barbara Krejcikova is her story is really interesting from any number of angles because of the injury, because of COVID, because of really just being devastated by injury for the last 12 months. It's not like she's completely fallen off a cliff from a tennis perspective. Her body and just circumstances let her down as well. And I think that's why you see her with the 31 next to her name going into this tournament. She's a far better player than that. And I think it was just about getting fitness right and getting back into winning matches again. Her run to this title is entirely fair. Like the players that she's beaten and the way that she played, I think everyone circling that semi-final against Rybakina had Rybakina winning. Former Wimbledon champion, has the game for it. You know, Krejcikova coming back and not being quite up to the level yet. And she answered the question emphatically. She was full marks and full money for that win. I don't know, I was reading some of the comments around how it was an interesting final to watch from a sort of tennis history perspective, because on the one hand, you see a player like Jasmine Paolini who has a game that I think translates more to grass. And then you see the opposite side of the net, this huge, loopy, sort of throwing a lasso level of forehand and backhand from Krejcikova. Yeah. And it does not look like it translates to playing on grass courts. But she still makes it work because she's just such an incredible all-round good tennis player that she barely has any weaknesses. The only weakness that she kind of has, she's not the quickest mover in the world, but it more than makes up to it when your brain is as good as it is for her.
She's also one of the last few remaining good people on Twitter or X, not verified either, which I find endearing. I had to check a few times to make sure it was her, but yeah, it's her. She's doing AMAs very close to match time, which I think is great. So yeah, I love this chance for her to show out. I loved how awkward Carlos Alcaraz was as well about the Wimbledon ball and dancing the dance later. I thought that was funny. Whether or not that ball happens, will the game be on? I'm curious about that. The England match. Let's see. Yeah, you mentioned the Rybakina match. I only caught the first set of that. And I just assumed that Rybakina was going to come through. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. And then I watched it back, and it checked out. Rybakina though, Bush, I saw people definitively bury the idea of the women's big three after her performance, and maybe kind of what it's been like the last year or so for Elena Rybakina. I think that's fair.
Thanks, dude. Chucking me the loaded grenade on that one. I don't think it's fair, no.
It seemed weird. So. I agree, and it seemed kind of weird, Bush, that people were so happy to dance on the grave of the idea that there was a big three or big four on the women's side. And I do agree with the assessment that it's a lazy analysis, but just to say that there's maybe three players who've separated themselves, or four if you added Coco at a time. Like, I think that was accurate for the time, but maybe now we've maybe moved beyond that.
I guess it also depends on how you are defining what constitutes being part of a big number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever that number is. Is it about slam wins? Is it about, tournament wins? Is it about match wins? Is it about where you're winning your matches? All of these things factor into it. Because I think the reason there was a big three in the men's side of things is because they won pretty much every Grand Slam, or in the final of every Grand Slam. That constitutes basically, you go into a tournament and you're like, one of these dudes is going to win this tournament. That's what you're suggesting when you're sort of giving that moniker to it. The women's game has too much variance for it. I think that's abundantly clear. The three sets factor of it, the neutralization of serve in a way, the fact that everyone is such a good athlete at this point that you're able to neutralize that side of things as well. I think it's just harder. And when you do see a player dominate in a way that, Swiatek's a good example of this, right? Because she is dominating, yet she lost in the third round here. And I don't think anyone was particularly surprised by that. It was a shock, of course, but it wasn't outright monocles dropping and everyone's dropped their box of strawberries at the same time. No,
and I think that was factored in by a lot of the picks people were making, right? And the fact that Ego Baby wasn't the popular pick. Okay, let's go to party shots, Bush. After the break, we'll talk about what else happened at Wimbledon, doubles, mixed doubles, news and notes coming up next.
Welcome back to the Open Era podcast. Devang, it is time for parting shots. Let's start with the men's doubles final. This was one of the best matches at Wimbledon, full stop, and maybe one of the best matches of the year, regardless of the discipline. It was run by Henry Patton and Harry Heliovara, winning over Max Purcell and Jordan Thompson. Tomo with the mustache, still rocking it.
Tomo, who will never forget this, I think, potentially. This will be ingrained in his mind forever. Is that fair?
Oh my God. How did they not win this? They had so many opportunities to put this away in the second and the third set. All three matches went to tie breaks. The Finnish/British team saved 3 championship points. They were full value for money. They came back and won the champions tiebreak in the third set. It was great. It was just a fantastic advertisement for the discipline. Great story as well for Henry Patton, Harry Heliovara, I'll touch on in a second. But across the board, this was just a phenomenal advertisement for doubles, Dev.
Awesome match. I mentioned Jordan Thompson. I think in the second set, he had a chance to get 4 championship points in the tiebreak, but the ball dribbled back onto his side in a comical fashion. I thought their speech at the end was funny as well. Aussie style, self-deprecating. But also shouts to Henry Patton. I do like when we started this week, it was all about Murray and Raducanu and to a lesser extent Jamie Murray and Dan Evans and the other Brits. But I do like when you have a nice moment for a less heralded player and someone who's playing at their home tournament. So shouts to those guys.
Absolutely. I mentioned Hadi Heliovara. At 28 years of age, he took a long break from the sport due to a degenerative illness that he had to basically tour the world to figure out how to get treatment for. He quit tennis. And the worst thing about him, by a mile, this dude worked at McKinsey.
Oh,
Why?
no.
Why do this to yourself?
What? Seriously? Oh no. You didn't put that in the notes. It just says great story. Oh God. Oh my God.
The great story is that someone staged an intervention in his life and he managed to get away. And he came back to the light side.
Jeez.
So I'm grateful that he got clean. He realized the error of his ways.
I think he's your age, actually, Bush. Wow. This is like a sliding doors moment. God bless you.
Wait, is he not 28? No, he's 34. Sorry.
He's 35,
bad research on my behalf.
He's 35. He's close. Oh my God. Okay. I'm shaken. It checks out though. Tennis is telling on itself in so many ways. And we have another version of that. Speaking of Morgan Riddell.
Okay. So this story was so where to start on this? Morgan Riddle does the vlog. She's doing a bunch of work on both TikTok and YouTube, following Taylor Fritz around the tour, doing her own work in there, promoting some of her fashion brands, and just really, I think, highlighting and marketing tennis in a way that's not done by the sport. I think I wrote in the Discord that Zendaya and Morgan Riddle have done more for tennis than the entire Grand Slams have done in the last 20 years, in the space of 2 years, to market to young people. So not entirely surprising there. This raised a little bit of eyebrows due to the Instagram story, which appeared to be poking fun at Alexander Zverev following Taylor Fritz's win, with the stating of "do it for the girls." What did you make of this? It got cleared up in as much as these things can be cleared up following this, but sure looked like a finger was being pointed in a direction here.
Yeah, and initially I was like, oh, that sucks. Like, why did she delete that? Or why is she maybe not telling the truth about her intentions? But then I mean, I can imagine that like this was coming from Taylor Fritz's crew, maybe even Taylor Fritz himself. Maybe he was uncomfortable with ruffling feathers in the locker room, and she acquiesced and took it down to make them feel better. Maybe Michael Russell, the coach who was mentioned several times in this drama. But I was a bit disappointed she deleted the stuff and then said it was for different reasons. Like, I don't think we're obtuse. I don't think she thinks we're obtuse. I think we all understand where she's coming from. And I think this was probably from the tennis side of this business crew who are worried about Taylor Fritz's rep, whatever the hell that is. So yeah, I think she was probably told to take it down, and I won't hold it against her.
During the course of this weekend, I went over to watch the Vancouver Open, the volleyball tournament that gets played. So it plays down on the beach. And it's a reminder that if you only watch sport or professional sport on TV and you don't get the chance to go to live sport, you tend to forget how much niggle there is down on the court, like how much spice sometimes there is that doesn't get picked up by the microphones, or that you can only see at a distance. Just the way that players interact with each other, either with a little like just the subtle things of body language cues, or just a word here and there, or like a fist pump or a come on in a certain way. And I'm always reminded every time I go to a live sporting event. Oh yeah, some of these dudes are just pricks. Like, some of these dudes are just arseholes on court. And perhaps there's some smoke and fire here with these two players about how they interact with the rest of the tour. One we definitely know about. One I think is maybe a little more subtle.
among the many things challengers got correct is how often the box player interaction is happening, seemingly at all times, 99% of the time, even when the point is happening, they're looking at their box. That's sort of felt like during this. So yeah, classic tennis. Maybe we can segue into celebs during the women's final.
Let's do it. Yeah, so there's a bunch of celebrities at the women's final. I must admit, there probably was some at the men's final, but I don't care quite as much.
Yeah, exactly.
Who did?
Exactly.
I'm not a royalist, so I don't really care about that side of things. But on the WTA final,
Kate Middleton and Nick Kyrgios were trending, and I just had to throw my laptop in a large body of water. So I also didn't see.
Good. You managed to stay away from that side of things. So we mentioned Zendaya, who was there, dressed in an outfit which can only be described as suitable for Mackenzie, actually, potentially.
It's on coded. She's fully one up with on running here.
Tom Cruise also there. Apparently he's still a thing. Billie Jean King, who is at everything. Nothing but positive things to say about Billie Jean King.
Get
and
a
then
job.
finally, perhaps
I'm joking. We love you. Please, obvious joke.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. And then finally, Maria Sharapova was there. What do you make of Sharapova being at these events and how she's been embraced or not embraced by the sport?
It's very interesting to me, like a new look too. I remember when I saw her on Breakpoint, I was like, oh, okay. And like, let's see, what does she have to add? And I was, pleasantly surprised, but like not blown away. But I think she's like getting better at it, if it makes sense. Like I'm curious what role she has to play here, or whether or not she can expand on it. Because I think there's room for some nice positive analysis to come from Maria Sharapova, because she has such a unique, she had a unique career, and she has a unique outlook, I think, on how a lot of this stuff within tennis works, whether that be the marketing machine or the way the tours work, or how you build your brand outside of tennis. So like, she obviously is a wealth of experience in that regard. So I welcome it. And I find it funny, like how things can change, so quick, not even so quickly, but maybe over time, like the relationships, the animosity, the hatred, it all kind of maybe eases up as we move on, which is kind of nice to see as well. So that was my overall take.
It's amazing how much with the avenue of time, or the component of time, that things seem less conflicting, seems a little easier to stomach sometimes. Also there was Hugh Jackman, I believe. Pierce Brosnan was there. Kate Beckinsale. And one of the... Anya Taylor-Joy was there. Did you see the sunglasses that Anya Taylor-Joy was wearing? She looked like, if you circled in the dictionary horrendous 90s fashion or horrendous early 2000s fashion, you would have found these sunglasses. So fair play to her. Commit. I thought she rocked it well, but far beyond me, I would not have done it.
No, I thought Charlie XCX... of Brat fame had the better sunglasses. The sunglasses. Oh God, I for some reason was watching when Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale were shown on TV, and it was as if the camera operator was trying to read lips, because he stayed on their faces for a long time, and I thought it was a bit strange. Yeah, I'm looking at the sunglasses now. I don't care. I'm looking at the Taylor-Joy sunglasses now, and I don't care for them at all. So I'm with you there.
All right, two more quick things before we move on to bullshit, which is a very funny way to end this segment. First and foremost, the ATP confirmed that this horrendous situation that we have moved back in society, where the ball kids are now going to have to return the towels to the players. But it's okay, Dev, because it's not mandatory. It's only to the discretion of whether or not the players want it. Tell me a fucking player on tour that's not going to be demanding this 12-year-old kid brings them their snot rag again. How are we not back to, have we not seen sense on this?
Yeah, sicko mode is definitely being activated by the rank and file of these tours when it comes to towels and how they're handled. This is disturbing. England was riding too high, eh? England was like, we changed our government. We're trying to do better things. Let's bring it back to the Stone Age one more time. It's horrendous. I honestly, it's funny. Like I did notice there was a slight time time added, I guess, because you could see the players walking around a bit more. It was noticeable, but it was fine because we all felt much better about it, as opposed to now when these kids who are doing a lot of good work, doing it for the love of the game, are forced to handle these sweat rags. Yeah, it's bad, man. It's bad.
You know, we've entered this situation in the world where like a bunch of data points get presented to someone and we just draw the complete wrong conclusion out of it. That's kind of what's happening here. Players are taking longer spaces of time at the back of the court.
Heliovara probably did a study at this on McKinsey and was probably the lead author. So we're too close to this, man.
You know what we need to do? We need to make sure these children get COVID. That's what we're trying to do. Or immunity, some other disease.
Immunity,
that's what we need to make sure.
Yeah, immunity. Okay. Shall we move on to the biggest controversy of the last 2 weeks, which was the ESPYs?
So Serena Williams hosted the ESPYs. I wrote in the notes question, what is the ESPYs or what are the ESPYs? Dev, what are the ESPYs?
Okay. So in the American sports calendar, there is a portion there's a portion, I guess, in the summer, in like this sweet spot where Major League Baseball, which is the major sport that's going on in the summer, takes a break. They have their All-Star games, so there's no games. I think really only MLS, Major League Soccer, is going on at the moment. So it's a dead period. ESPN, because they love content, made their own content and made this thing to kind of fill this dead period. But they moved it this year so that it was not during the All-Star break. It was like during other stuff. It was also the day or the night, if you remember, of Joe Biden's big press conference, and everyone was wondering what the F he was going to say. So nobody watched this version of the ESPYs, but I caught highlights. I thought Serena did well hosting. I also find most of this stuff cringe, like the celebrity interaction stuff. Like I feel not well when I watch this stuff. So I know that wasn't for me, but I thought she had fun with it. And then I saw people really pissed off that Coco Gauff won Tennis Player of the Year. But I think that was solely because she's American and people know who she is at the ESPYs. So that's my quick rundown,
Serena,
if that helps.
Serena sing? Did I hear this? Is that what happened?
She did. Again, horribly cringe. Like I don't think I'm embarrassed for other people anymore. I think I am just upset it happened at all. Maybe that's my new definition of cringe, but it was okay. The ESPYs are another example of things existing only because they've been done before, I think. So maybe them changing when this happened was like their idea of rocking the boat a bit. You
can easily get rid of this and no one would notice. Kind of like Coldplay, I think.
Jesus, watch yourself, sir. Watch yourself. Okay. Do you want to get into some Fed hating? Do you want to end this on some Fed hatred? Is that what you wanted here?
Kind of.
Yeah, okay.
Also realized that before we do that, did you, in one of the Barbara Krejcikova Q&As, did you see how much of a fan she was of trains and how much she enjoyed public transit?
I did.
Did you see that come up as well?
Again, this checks
Another
out.
reason to stand.
If you told me that Barb was into trains, I wouldn't bat an eye. So yeah, that checks out.
One of us. Absolutely. All right, let's shit on Roger Federer to close this. No, I'm joking. Or am I? Let's talk about this. Appeared in the same week at a Coldplay show and a Taylor Swift show, backstage at both. Is this what we want from him in retirement?
Yes. I mean, apart from working for McKinsey, this is the least offensive thing you can do, right? It was funny. I saw the Swift concert. Like his sons were not. I don't think his sons were digging it when they were there, which made me laugh. Like he made them go, which was fun. And then Chris Martin, who is, I on the record, I am a Coldplay defender. I like generally. I don't mind the new stuff in the sense that they know who they are, and then I actually like the early stuff. So I do find Chris Martin cringy AF, and I do think together Chris and Roger potentially are the most cringy people of all time. So I do think that's a match made in heaven. And yeah, like honestly, as long as he's not signing like weapons deals, I'm good with this from Fed.
Give it time. I think someone should write a thesis. Jeez, we're going to get done for libel so bad here. Allegedly. No, someone should write a thesis, or someone should, in media studies, there's so much to be written about why Coldplay are hated, or what is it about it? Why I find it kind of fascinating. I don't mind some of it, but at the same time, I think it's quite interesting.
I think there's a bit of a Nickelback thing here as well, which I don't know if you're listening in Canada, like Nickelback had that rise, and there's a film or a documentary on Netflix now chronicling it. But I do think they reached a point of saturation where you could not escape it, and once that happens, that will obviously sway people. But yeah, Coldplay forever and Parachutes forever. Rush Blood to the Head as well. Great albums.
I heard Coldplay described once as offensively Radio 2, which is such a British joke. Such a specific British joke that I don't think anyone in the world will understand what that means, but I think if you know, you know.
I think I'm enough of an Anglophile to get it and be offended. So I guess that was exactly the intention.
2 challenges remaining, and mine is Coldplay. No, I'm kidding. What's yours, Deb?
Ooh, okay. I was going a couple of different places here. I will actually, let's shout out Canada Soccer. Copa America. Had a really fun time watching this tournament. I love more people getting on the bandwagon. I do kind of pinch myself because it really didn't feel possible. Like from 2012, I'd say, to now, it's been stratospheric. The leaps we've made and where we are now, but really getting stuck in against some of these South American teams and being on the same playing field, bit nuts. And I know it's not perfect or pretty all the time, and the nationalism that is associated with these teams is also a bit sickening. And the hockey heads coming in with their hilarious takes make me laugh / cry tears of sadness. But overall, it was a fun experience, and I am curious, more scared actually, Bush, like, please learn some lessons from hosting this in America, guys, because this was a shit show. Like, let's get our things together here, because you're hosting a lot more people in a couple of years. So yeah,
go listen to Marcelo Bielsa is my advice on that one. I think Canada football is an interesting spot, right? Because you can see there are levels within the squad and within the first team of, you have some pretty, some really good players, like genuinely some really, really good players at this point, but they're kind of being dragged down by the bottom half of the team and by the squad at this point. And it's just about raising that floor again. I think when you need a kind of another generation cycle of more players, like just the technical level being brought in, I think then you're standing at a point where, like, I think that they're going to be a really, really good team and will be a bit of a force in the football world. And that's the thing, like when you are in that moment, you're able to compete because you do have good players and you can win in moments, and you have an ability to sort of to win games that you previously wouldn't, but it's not enough to consistently challenge. So, like, I think the future is bright. You can see there's real growth here.
It's well said, sir. You have UK election follow-up.
I mean, just to say, I am grateful the Tories are gone. I am very, very happy. Extremely happy.
Did you see Boris Johnson's Shrek-looking ass at that Ambani wedding in India? Did you see this?
I did see that. Talk about something that has been just so fucking angered people across the board, across the political spectrum.
I feel like if this was what leads to the revolution in India, it'll be a hilarious point to look back on. Just the most upsetting wedding of all time.
Not just India, the world.
Oh, worldwide. All of the worst celebrities, including Gianni Infantino, who has, like, there's a UEFA final happening and he's at this wedding. What the hell, man?
You know, when there's like all of those people banging on around the world about the elites controlling everything, this fucking wedding, man.
that thing, yeah.
Don't publicize this.
I would have some humility, but that's not what they're about. But anyways, Bush, the Tories are gone. Congrats, sir.
Yeah.
We'll see, right? We'll see where this goes.
It is the most bittersweet feeling ever, where I'm very grateful. I'm also kind of a bit sad that they got over 100 seats. I wanted them to be like down to 20. I wanted them to just a complete face electoral wipeout, because I think it would have been a really nice situation where you have this institution which is so powerful just completely wiped off the electoral map. It would have been nice to see. So, alas, it wasn't quite the case, and I think they can rebuild. But yeah, it was quite the win for Labour.
Indeed it was. Okay, we'll leave it there for this week. Thanks so much for joining us during Wimbledon. We really enjoyed talking to you about this tournament. As always, we're on patreon.com/open era. Join us there, get the show ad free, get it early on Sundays, plus join our Discord where we're chatting tennis all the time, and we're frankly loving to chat tennis as opposed to the other places, because the other places have, I don't know, just a lot of bad takes and excess and put downs and all that stuff. But no, our Discord is great. I truly love hanging out in there. So join us over there. For producer Greg on the ones and twos, and for Simon, thank you so much for listening to Open Era. We'll talk to you next time.